Right, good morning everyone, and today we'll continuing with the text First Flight, and today's lesson will be turning to page 99, and we'll be doing the poem titled The Trees. Now, before I begin reading the poem, a few things that you must know about the poem beforehand is that this poem is mainly about supporting nature in its rightful place, that is, in the wild. The poem talks about how trees have moved from the greenhouses and how they are moving towards the forest. Now, we know very well that it is not possible for trees to move, all right? But then the poet presents the idea so as to invoke in us, all right, the readers, the idea or the fact that trees are best left in their natural surroundings, that is, in nature itself. All right, that greenhouses are just a delusion of nature. It is not actual nature. What we are doing is we are exploiting nature. We as human beings are exploiting nature for our own benefits, and just to make ourselves feel good, we are creating greenhouses, artificial gardens in our areas, which are mini plants, miniature trees, glass house ma like we are doing with animals as well. We are exploiting the forest and we are exploiting the animal kingdom, and the animals, like we have made it like a object of show, all right, zoo or circus. So in the same way, trees and basically plant life have been given the same treatment unalai rakhera mistreat गरिरहेको छ. So this poem advocates the right of nature and the belonging of nature in its rightful place. So first we will read the poem as usual, the entire poem, and then after that we will take it para by para. And so, The Trees by Adrian Rich. The trees inside are moving out into the forest. The forest that was empty all these days, where no bird could sit, no insect hide, no sun bury its feet in shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks. In the veranda floor, the leaves strain towards the glass, small twigs stiff with exertion, long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof like newly discharged patients, half dazed, moving to the clinic doors. I sit inside, doors open to the veranda, writing long letters in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. The night is fresh. The whole moon shines in a sky still open. The smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. My head is full of whispers, which tomorrow will be silent. Listen, the glass is breaking. The trees are stumbling forward. Into the night, winds rush to meet them. The moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. So, as you can make out after going through the poem once, it talks about how trees are fighting for their freedom, all right? Freedom as in freedom from the cages, freedom of their wish to belong or to grow in the place where nature intended them to grow, and not like captives inside a glass house. Now, taking the first para, the trees inside are moving out into the forest. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. The trees inside are moving out into the forest that was empty all these days, where no bird could sit, no insect hide, no sun bury its feet in shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. Now, in this para, the speaker, the speaker of the poem, that is our poet, observes that the trees in the house are moving outside into the forest, which has been empty for a long time. So, what the poet is saying is that one day the poet notices that trees which were inside his house are moving outwards, they're going out. Now, that is not possible for trees to move, but still, what the poet is trying to say is, it is important to understand that the trees are not actually moving, Trees can't move, They can't walk about like human beings. But it has been used as an imagery, It has been used as an imagery by the poet to show the destroyed forests and the false nature that humans have tried to keep in their houses. Since the forest was empty, no birds could sit on the branches, no insects could hide in the trees, and no sunlight could disappear under the shadows of the tree. So the poet tells us that the empty forest will be filled with trees the next morning. In the first para, the poet tells us that the trees are moving, And the poet is only trying to show an imagery here to highlight the point that the forest which we have built inside the houses, in greenhouses, forest create gareko cha, that is not an actual forest. That is just for decoration. In those mini forests, there birds cannot come and nest, Unale nest bananu sakdaina. Unale have trees, they can't eat the fruits. Insects can't hide in the leaves, And even what do we most appreciate about the trees on a very sunny day? So we see a tree, a huge tree, and under the tree shadow form back, shade form back, it has a very cooling effect. So even that is not possible because the tree is inside in artificial conditions. And while that is being done, actual tree ko nature ma jungles it is devoured of trees. There are no trees in the jungle. And so the poet says, now the trees are going, they'll go to the forest and the forest will be filled with trees once again. And moving on to the second stanza, all night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. The leaves strain towards the glass, small twigs stiff with exertion, long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof, like newly discharged patients, half-dazed, moving to the clinic doors. So what is happening in the second para? It seems that the trees work silently in the night in order to complete the mission of getting free from the boundaries of the house. Therefore, they walk all night to free themselves through the cracks on the veranda floor. The leaves of the tree try very hard to put a lot of pressure on the glass so that they could break it. The small twigs have become very hard due to applying so much pressure of tree to free themselves. The larger branches of the trees that have shrunk because of being inside the wall and under the roof where they cannot grow much. They try to move slowly from there and look like newly discharged patients from a hospital who have become half shocked on coming to the outside world. So in the second para, the roots, the roots of the tree, they start to disengage. Roots from the ground in which the roots had grown into. They want to move out. And the small twigs, tree ko they are pressing against the glass of the house, to break it, to break the glass. Other than that, even the branches, they have not grown their full potential. Unaru jati त्यो tree grow गर्नु पनि त्यति grow भएन रे. Why? Because it is confined under a limited space. Or a shallow space they can't grow. So now they have had it and they are going out into the forest. And when they come out, they look like patients that have been recently discharged from the hospital. Kune patient hospital ma admit back thire, and after they are cured, jati bhera bahira niklinda pani some of the weakness, all right, some of the experience that that person has been through in the hospital is shown on the faces. So even the trees have that look, all right? They had the look of a patient who had just been discharged from a hospital. I sit inside, doors open to the veranda, writing long letters, in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. The night is fresh, the whole moon shines. In a sky still open, the smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. Now in the third para, our poet, she's sitting, all right, and she's writing a letter. All the while that this is going on, but she's not commenting on it, all right. She's sitting there writing a letter, the doors of which open to the veranda. So junche thongma base letter like this, it is called a door, and it opens up in the veranda, and she can see the trees moving. She hardly mentions in her letters about the trees that are moving out to the empty forest. It is a full moon night where the moon is shining in the open sky and the night is very fresh. The poet can smell the leaves and lichens coming from the trees that reach her like a voice. Now, all this while, all these things are going on, the trees are trying to move out and all. The poet is there, all right? She is sitting on a table, and near her table is a veranda, all right? The door which opens to the veranda, and she can see what is going on. And all the while, she's writing long letters. And throughout her long letters, she hardly mentions what is going on. Letter mention that the trees are going out, that the trees are moving out to the forest. No, she is not commenting anything on what is going on around her in the letters. And all she mentioned is that the moon is very shiny, all right? It's a full moon and it's shiny. The forest will be alive soon once the घरको forest चाहिँ आफ्नो rightful place मा गयो भने चाहिँ the forest will be alive. The forest will be once more full of trees is what she says. And all the while she can smell, all right, the leaves of the trees coming towards her. My head is full of whispers, which tomorrow will be silent. Listen, the grass is breaking. The trees are stumbling forward into the night. Winds rush to meet them. The moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. So in the last para, the poet listens to the sounds coming from the leaves and lichens of the trees. These sounds will not be there in the morning, as the trees will move out to the forest in the night and will not be in the house by morning. Now the speaker can hear the glass breaking due to the efforts of the twigs. As the glass breaks, the trees hurry outside, and in doing so, they fall on each other and get stuck on different places. As the trees go into the open, it seems like the wind is moving fast towards them to meet them. The tall trees can finally stand straight as they are free. They are so tall that they have broken the moon into pieces like a broken mirror. The moon now sits like the crowns on the heads of the tall oak trees. Again, all right? So even this moon, all right, it has been used as an imagery to show that between the ground and the sky stands the trees, and one can only look at parts of the moon and not the full moon from under the trees. So finally, in the last para, the poet said that the glass gives in, all right? The glass which the tree was trying to push into, it breaks off. And now the tree goes outside and it stands straight to its full potential. The tree is very tall, and the captivity under which they were grown was not allowing it to grow to its full extent. And as soon as the tree comes out, it is greeted by the wind, all right? Even the wind misses the tree. And as the tree moves towards the forest, the poet notices that the tree breaks even the moon in a million into small fragments, all right? See, what the poet is trying to say here is that let this watch be the moon, all right? The moon is there, and as the tree is moving, now the tree is so tall that the branches and the twigs of the tree, what they are doing is they are separating the moon into different pieces. It looks as if the moon is in different pieces, all right, even though it is not. But when the tree comes in front of the moon and the poet is looking at the moon, it looks as if the moon also has been broken into small fragments and now sits atop the tree like a crown, all right? And so now the tree is in their rightful place, and when the tree starts moving, the poet says that now I know that in the morning I will not be able to smell the leaves, all right, and the twigs, because the trees won't be there, that the trees will move to the forest. And that is the end of the poem. Now, what this poem is all about is the preservation of nature, but not just the preservation of nature, but the preservation of nature in its rightful place, all right? That one cannot exploit nature and expect that nature is all right by just having a small garden growing trees in captivity. That is not nature, all right? Nature is something which is there out in the open, in the wild. And so in this poem, the struggle of nature is highlighted through a couple of trees who one day decide that enough is enough. We cannot grow inside this house of captivity, and decide to move out in the open, all right? So with this, we complete the poem, The Trees, from your text First Flight. And I hope you have understood the poem as well. Now, coming tomorrow, I'll be sending you the summary of the poem, all right? And then followed by question and answers as usual. So while you are going through this explanation and while you are going through the poem itself, if there's anything that you missed out or anything or any point that you may think requires a second attention or a second look at, you let me know in my personal WhatsApp, or you can call me as well, all right? Till then, you please go through the poem line by line and get the general idea, all right? Thank you.